Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. We begin by wishing long life to Georgina. That's the wife of John Hankin, our caretaker, who passed away last Friday, so didn't get onto the video. Um, we use the word caretaker. Caretaker is generally used to mean, does the cleaning, does the washing up, puts things back, takes things out. But with John, it was a real literal sense of care. It really meant that he took real honor and pride in how the building was looked after. And he wasn't just doing it for a job. It was really because he really wanted to give to our community. He really had a depth of understanding about the Jewish people, and he wanted, in his own small way, to be a part of what he could. Coming on to the Sedra this week, it's the last one, Vayechi, the last one in the book of Bereshis, which means that it's a week where we end with Chazak. As you know, we say the blessing at the end, that we shall strengthen ourselves to continue with more books of the Torah. But the story wraps up really with the blessings that Jacob gave to his sons at the end of his life. He had now come down to Egypt because of the famine. They lived in this beautiful area called Goshen, and her family grew and expanded and became bigger and bigger. From the 70 that they came down with, we know within a short time, increased to many thousands. And when Jacob was coming towards the end of his life, he called his children together, but first he called Joseph, and he wanted to bless Joseph's two children, Manasseh and Ephraim. And he said, Reuven v'Shimon Yehuli, that they're going to be like Reuven and Shimon. In other words, they're going to have the status of tribes in their own right. Even though they are grandchildren, they're going to be treated as children because he was so impressed with their level. Despite them growing up in Egypt, he wanted to elevate them to the status of tribes. And he said, he said, this is how your children should bless their children, and they should say, Yisimcha leikim k'Ephraim v'Menashe. God shall place you like Ephraim and Menashe. And then he gave them the famous blessing of Hamalach Hagar Osi, about the angel who protected him. Should bless the lads, and they should be called in my name. V'shem Avos Avram v'Yitzchak, the name of my father Abraham and Isaac. V'Yidgu l'Rov b'Kerev ha'aretz. They should multiply like fish in the midst of the land. That's a blessing. They should have lots of children and many descendants. And the question is asked, why specifically do we bless our children? And many have the custom to do this every Friday night. Bless the children, they should be like Ephraim and Menashe. Why don't we bless them like they should be like any of the other tribes, or any of the other great people in Jewish history? What was so special? So if we look at the story in detail, what we will find is that Ephraim was younger than Menashe, and yet when Jacob blessed them, he put his right hand on the head of Ephraim. The right hand always is seen as the greater, the more important hand, and Menashe's put his left hand on Menashe, and Joseph had, in other words, he switched his hands over, so he crossed his hands to bless them. And Joseph said, no, you got it wrong. Menashe's the older one, the Bechor, the firstborn, he should have the right hand. And Jacob said, no, Menashe is great, but Ephraim will be greater, therefore he's going to have my right hand. Ephraim was more diligent, was more studious, was more knowledgeable. Menashe was more the practical one. He was we're told, was head of the household. He was more of a doer rather than an academic, the thinker. But Jacob wanted to give the right hand to Ephraim. And the most important part is that we never see Menashe show any jealousy, any falling out, any element of being angry or upset, because he understood that the will of his grandfather was that Ephraim's should get the right hand. It wasn't something Ephraim was trying to do to him, to usurp him. It was just respect for his greater learning, and he just understood that, he accepted it, and they carried on and they lived together in peace. And that's always the message we're trying to give our children, is that even though one of you might make more money in life, one of you might do better, get better results in life, one of you might, be more prominent, more successful, but nevertheless, everyone has to do what's good for them. Everyone has to fulfill their own unique individual mission in this world, and therefore it's never worth it. It's never advisable. It's never beneficial to fall out, to get upset with each other, to be jealous. But be like Manasseh and Ephraim, where Manasseh could see Ephraim being given honor, and he just accepted it and carried on in peace. And that's a blessing, and that's really not just for children. It applies for adults. I know of families where the siblings are madly jealous of each other when they're in their 50s and 60s. And they've never got over it. They've never accepted that life's dealt each other different hands. And we know sometimes you have families where one child might do very well in whatever way, and the others aren't happy for them, or they look to find faults in them. That's always very sad. The Jewish way is to be like Manasseh and Ephraim, and everybody to be happy for each other. Wish you all Shabbat Shalom, and hope to see you soon.